I hope I introduced you well. We're very happy to have you.
I am not sir, I am comrade.
Comrade. Okay, comrade. I don't think that's for me. I think that's for you and Pastor. I'll stick to the sir, if you may allow me to do that. Yes. Good evening. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
I would like for you to please tell us about your childhood, basically where you grew up, with parents, siblings, your childhood basically.
My childhood is a very interesting one. Where do I start from? Born in Bugolobi flats. Those days the flats were not bougie. They were meant for soldiers. And my father was a soldier, so I was born in the flats. And we grew up in the turbulent 80s. Went into exile, came back into the country around 86 when the new government was in power. We lived in what they call a muzigo with my mother. 5 children all sleeping on one bed with my mother in a certain way for all of us to fit in. Never went to school for about a year or two until my father came back from exile to join us. And I went through school, went to Victoria Nile Primary School in Jinja. From Victoria Nile Primary School, I went to Namasagari. I was expelled, I'll tell you why, in my senior one. And then I went to a very strict secondary school called Lakeview in Jinja. Today, it's pretty much the biggest school. But when I was there, whenever a class was graduating or the pioneer class was graduating is when they would build a new classroom. So it was such a basic school that, and those days, I know Pastor Henry, an old man, you remember the word, we say, is your school on the map? Is your school on the map? And then, of course, from there, went to Mwiri, where again we did a lot of revolutionary things. And then, of course, went through the hassle of life. And so on and so forth. Stuff I will explain as I, do my presentation later on.
Okay. So we hear about the expulsion and all that, and right now when we hear all the great things you're doing, we're wondering how do you come from the sleeping on one mattress, the expulsions and all that to becoming who you are right now, briefly.
I think it's a lot of things and a lot of people along the way who impacted me and my life. Lots of friends, good and bad friends, because I always say the bad friends give you experiences that kind of, show you what is good and what is bad. Then, of course, my parents and a lot of the people around me socially. But I think a lot of it as well was compounded with my years of being illegal in the UK. I dropped out of school in senior 6. After senior 6, I never went to university for over 7 years. So during those 7 years' time, I was a Muyiribi. I began as a Kanabe. I was a journalist. I love to cook. For many of you who look at my social media, you'll see me roasting all the time because I worked in a kitchen for 6 years before I went back to school. So it's a combination of so many things. And I would love to say it is one single thing, but it's not one single thing. Kind of like when you're creating the best katogo and you throw in Royco, you throw in this and that, it's a whole mix. And I think that's what life is all about. And it's about picking the best out of every situation, small bits of this, big bits of that, to create the story you want to have. Yeah.
So were you always clear with the direction, like this is where I'm going, this is what I'm going to do and all that? Because there's people who always have their lives planned out.
And those are boring lives, I presume. Because life can never be straight. You can never. I can tell you, did you 5 minutes or 10 minutes ago, did you plan that you're going to look at me this way?
No.
Did you plan that you were going to ask me these questions an hour ago? So you see, life is supposed to be that exciting in the sense that you're supposed to flow with the flow. Responsibly. But flow with the flow. A lot of the time, what limits us or what makes us not get to becoming the greatest people that we want to be is because of societal norms, systems that have told us this is how things are. I mean, if you recall when children or when you were young and you were told to paint or to color a picture, you colored it outside the picture and all over the place. And you know what society has told you? No, that looks bad. So now you paint inside the thing. So external validation. How will they think of me? What will they say? Banda babatia. And I think for me, that's something that failed to define me. So I never really had a straight line in terms of what I want to do. And I'll tell you that every 5 years I keep drifting from, different opportunity to different opportunity, because again, life is supposed to be that exciting. It's not supposed to be linear. It's supposed to be about growth. It's about challenging yourself. It's about exposing yourself to things that you always have to say, at least I have tried to do this, other than saying, I can't do it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let me not preempt the rest of the things you're going to tell us. We will have a Q&A session later on. So there is a QR code that is going to be thrown up on our screens, and we shall scan the QR code as our guest speaker is sharing. Please think of questions that you want to ask him. We shall not answer all the questions because I'm sure there will be so many. However, we'll pick out some. But as you continue coming for this business hub, you'll find that all your questions are answered. So keep coming, stay positive. Can we please have the QR code? And if you do not know how to scan the QR code, just open your camera and position it where the QR code is. And then it will lead you to where you're supposed to write your questions. Okay, thank you. So we'll have a few minutes to do that, and then we'll let our guest speaker take it away from here. Has everyone done that? Just position your camera. It will pick it. Don't take a picture. Position your camera. It will pick it. Has anyone been successful? Yes. Okay. Need a few more minutes? I'm seeing cameras up, but people are not responding. Do we need a few more seconds? Not even minutes. I think we've all scanned. Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to have Mr. Otoa tell us what we need to succeed, right? Hello? Yeah. Okay. So I'll just leave the stage to you.
Thank you very much.
Now is your moment.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Can I have this thing? I always admire pastors when they preach with this thing. So today is my opportunity. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I know it's a Friday, Mukoye, but we have to enjoy the climax of the week. So I'm just going to find out if my presentation is okay. If you could just put it on and just to make sure just before we start. Okay, but while they're doing that, I just wanted to first of all begin by asking, How many of you have read at least 5 books this year? Yeah, put up your hands. 5 books this year. Okay, now I'll now reduce. How many of you have read at least 2 books this year? 3 books? Pastor, you need to tell these people that leaders are readers and readers are what? However much we tell you these things and you're not reading and gaining knowledge through books and all these ideas, you are kind of limiting yourself. So always remember, leaders are readers. But I just wanted to start off with a very interesting story while this is getting started. And it's really about leadership. And I read this from a very interesting book called The Art of War. How many of you have heard of The Art of War? It's a book by Sun Tzu. Sima Sasi, it's about strategy in war. And there is part of that book which is not really out there. No one actually knows much about that part whenever we're talking about the book. It's about the story of the concubines. Have you heard of the story of the concubines in The Art of War? The story goes like this. Now, Sun Tzu was a very amazing strategist when it came to war. And the king of Wu was super amazed with this guy. He had read his material, he had read his strategies, and he called him up and said, you know what, Sun Tzu, come over to the king's palace. I want to test this art of war as you say it is. And when he goes, the king asks him, this art of war, this strategy of yours, can it work with soldiers? Sun Tzu says, yes, it can work with soldiers. That is why I wrote it. He says, okay. Now, can it work with women? Can it work with women? And what does Sun Tzu say? Of course it can work with women. Then the king says, okay, I don't think this thing is real. But anyway, let's try it with the women here. So he gets all the concubines in the palace, over 200 of them, and they separate them into 2 groups. When they separate them into 2 groups, Sun Tzu states the instructions. And he says, when the drums roll, I will say, about turn, you turn round. Turn left, you turn left. Turn right, you turn right. And everyone is supposed to be doing it in precision. Sun Tzu's instructions were clear. And he asked them, have you understood the instructions? What did they say? Yes, we have. Now, the drums roll. Instructions, turn round. The women start laughing. They start laughing and giggling. Look at this guy. Sun Tzu says, okay. Then he shouts to the king and says, apologies, king. When the general sets out instructions and they are not followed, it is the problem of the general. So this time round, I'm going to do it again. Goes back to the women and says, madams, turn right, yes. Turn left, yes. Are we clear on the instructions? They said, yes, we are very clear. Drum roll, drum rolls. Turn left, they giggle again. Sun Tzu stops and says, Mr. King, when the general puts out instructions and they are not taken seriously or not followed, it's the problem of the general. But when the general puts out instructions and they are understood by the soldiers and they are not followed, it's the problem of the what? The officers. So he said, bring the officers, the ones who are at the head, all of them, we're going to behead them. The king said, hey, no, those are my concubines, the favorite ones. They cook for me soup, good food. He said, no. According to the instructions, they have to go down. And they were indeed beheaded. Then he used again the same instructions. Drum roll. This time round, everyone followed instructions. Turn left, turn right. And it was so quiet. Everyone was following. And he said, Mr. King, the soldiers are now ready. You can now come and march and inspect them. They are now ready. Why am I telling you this story? That first story is about instructions and discipline. Sometimes we hear all these amazing things on this pulpit, but do we actually follow them to the latter? Or do we just come to church for good vibes here and we go away and giggle? Because I hope that whatever I'm going to say today is not just one of those, but it's one of these things that we can take seriously. The second one that I wanted to talk about is the 3 types of people in life. And I'm going to use this just before we get into our presentation. I don't know what's happening, but hopefully it will come on. It's coming on? Okay. If it can just come on. If it can just come on. Yeah, if you can just put it on. The second one really is about the 3 types of people in life. You know, we have something called the Ubuntu Leadership Safari. And this is what we call these the 5 a.m. reflections every morning. For 15 minutes, we reflect. And our reflections are not motivations. They are simply ideas to get you running your day the best way possible. And this week we reflected on the 3 types of people. The first ones are the very, very much interested people. You've heard of them. I'm interested in going to pastor's church. I'm interested in doing this. I'm interested in doing a business. I'm interested in making some money. They're just interested. Nothing beyond that. Just interested. Do we know these people? We know them. They are just there. They are just interested. Then the second type of people are the committed people. These are the people who put in time and the work, the discipline. They wake up, do whatever has to be done to make sure everything is flowing the way it's supposed to flow. But the thing about them, though, is that sometimes they get to a certain point, and that's their peak, and they burn out. Committed people, disciplined. And then you have the third category, the obsessed. They're obsessed. They wake up in the morning, they are thinking about the same thing. They are talking about the same thing. Their whole world and life evolves around the same thing. Those are the ones we call Bagud de Daru. Yeah? We usually say, oh, well, guy, Agud de Daru. Why? Because we don't understand. And if you think about life, the great people we talk about, the ones we like to quote, including our Lord Jesus, they were obsessed. They were obsessed. You know, Jesus would be asked, but who are you? What are you here doing? And he would always say, I am here for this one thing only. My one mission. My one. Obsessed with that just one thing. Now, I was asked to come and speak about how to succeed financially. And I just thought to myself, is it true that anyone can just succeed financially, or is it for certain few? Are we really obsessed about getting ourselves financially free or not? You know, someone said money is evil and I laughed. I said, oh, how? Because nothing or nowhere does it say money is evil. It's how people use money. It's how people think of money. They always say, if you want to test people, there are 2 things you give them: money or power. Just give them money or power. Even your guy who was a kadei, who was a nice guy, aja kwefulako. You understand? Aja kwefulako because afunye mukasente, accent echuse, emikwano na George chusemu. You understand? And these are the sad things about life. But I just want our presentation to come on. I don't know what's taking long. Is it okay? Okay, just put it on and I'll control it from here. No, you have it there? Yeah, you have to connect it to the C charger so it's up on this. Yeah, so while they're sorting that out, I'll tell you another story. Do you have mentors? How many of you have mentors? Put up your hands. So the half of you mutambula butambuzi muloza mwemanyi. You know, so someone told me, the day you think you have arrived, when you think you have all the knowledge, is the day you start dying. Wolozambu or Tuesday is the day you start dying. Now, one of the biggest challenges for many of us, and I'll tell you a story for my own sake, is mentors have been the cornerstone of my life. I have a business mentor, I have a spiritual mentor, I have mentors for almost different parts of my life. But you know what's amazing about mentors? It's like standing on the shoulders of giants. People who have been through situations that you're getting into and can tell you where to go and where not to go. So many of you who do not have mentors here, there's something you're missing out on. And that's the beauty about mentorship. And you know what I like about such events, especially at a church like this? I mean, it's Friday for Christ's sake. We could be anywhere. But we have chosen to come for knowledge. And again, this is different from other churches as well, because other churches forget about that bit of mentorship and support to the community. So for me, this is kind of a great conversation to start off with. But I think I'm just going to roll without this thing. Yeah. So, okay, so let me just start because I wouldn't want us to get very victimized with technology. So the mentorship thing I think is a very important one. But I also just wanted to say this topic for me was a very interesting one. And maybe just to give a little bit of my background, I am an entrepreneur as well. They talked about eunuch. But you see, I always say in life there is a job and there is work. And let me explain this. A job is what you go in and you clock in, where they ask you what time did you come. You clock in, you clock out, and you can retire. No, not you can. You will have to retire. Okay? That's a job. And then there is what they call work. Work is what you do until the day you die. Do we see the difference? Yeah? A job is what you clock in. What eunuch is my job. The things I like to do, like speaking, Ubuntu, leadership conversations, that is work for me. So, even in whatever we do in life, we need to be asking ourselves, in this financial conversation, are we espousing the same things? Are we talking about our job and our work? Now, I was asked to speak about this whole financial conversation. And the beauty about this is that 6 months ago, before I joined Stanbic, I was the chief executive at the Stanbic Business Incubator. It is, until now, one of the biggest incubators in East Africa for young businesses that are trying to thrive to become great. During my time, we managed to train over 5,000 businesses, and many of them in the oil and gas world today are businesses that went through our hands, where we handheld them to become great businesses. But when I looked at the entrepreneurs who were coming in and out, there were certain interesting trends which were interesting about them. Number one, many of them were never entrepreneurs. They were ordinary people like any of us here. How many are entrepreneurs here? I see my school guys are entrepreneurs. You guys, when do you study? How many entrepreneurs? Please put up your hands. Okay, so again, it's very few. And again, the reason why it's also very few people putting up their hands is because entrepreneurship is a very lonely and scary place. I can tell you that every time URA calls me, I know there's a problem. It's a very scary place. And you see, entrepreneurs will understand that. But why am I talking about this and why am I passionate about finances and financial conversations? I worked in a bank while at Stanbic and I saw how good people handle money and how bad people handle money. Now, if you want to be financially stable, there's one golden rule, and this rule you can ask anyone from time. It's about paying yourself first. Do you understand that? And I hope we're writing this down because I'm going to give you the 10 golden rules. Number one, pay yourself first. And what does that mean? save at least 10% of whatever you're earning. It doesn't matter how small it is. 10% compounding is massive. I've done it before. I can testify to that. I have seen people do it before, and they can testify to that. The biggest thing that we do not know about, and that I will tell you as a secret, is the magic of compounding interest. That 10% you're seeing saving, it piles and piles and piles, and by the time you need it, it's great money. So remember, even if you're earning 500,000, put aside 50,000. Zela bide. You see, the problem with us is, there's a very interesting meme. I don't know if you guys remember. If the money cannot solve your problems, you guys eat your money now, I can see. But you remember that, right? If your money cannot solve your problems, eat your money. No, I'm here to tell you, do not eat your money. Please save your money. 10% of saving your money will do you amazing things. But on top of that is that once you find ways and avenues of saving it, it's not just about saving it, it's about putting your money to work. And I'll explain the ways in which you can do that. About 3 years ago, a friend of mine at UAP introduced me to what they call unit trusts. How many of you know unit trusts? And by the way, a unit trust, the least you can put in is just 100K. 100K. Every day while you're sleeping, it's making money. You see interest. They have an app. I have an app here. And I would have shown it if the projection was on. Every day, you're earning an interest. And the beautiful thing is that it's compounding. Now, to explain compounding interest, I would say it is interest and on interest. You get it now? Interest and on interest. So let's imagine you have 100,000. Then they just add 1K. Tomorrow, when they're adding interest, they add the interest of 101K. Then, by the time you unlock that money in a year or two, your 100K that you never even thought about has made you so much money while you were sleeping. Unit trusts, very important. The other one that I also wanted us to talk about is the idea of side businesses. Now, I don't like to call them side businesses. You know, there's something about Ugandans. When you ask a Ugandan, how are things? How are you? How are you? How are you? Huh? You're fine, thank you. Okay, you're very rare. How are you? You're good, thank you. Laura, how are you? You're great. Now, typical Ugandans, how are you? I'm somehow. How are you? Tugezako, I'm fair. How are you? We are trying. How is business? We are there. Tugezako. Now, ask a Nigerian, how are you? I'm fantastic, I'm fabulous, I'm bombastic. How is business? We are taking over the globe. He has a kafunda, but he's taking over the what? You know, as Christians, you need to understand that there is power in words. There is power in words. Whatever we think of in the spirit and we speak becomes a reality. Now, if you're thinking about finances and you're just there, I will make it. Your subconscious mind has already been working with I will what? Let me deviate a little bit. There is science that I read recently that amazed me. The power of the subconscious mind. Do you know how powerful your subconscious mind is? Let me explain. You see, I'm just going to show you properly so you can understand what I'm trying to show you here. This here is the subconscious mind. When I pour water on it, what does it do? It sucks it. Okay? If I poured cold water, it would still do what? It would still suck the cold water. That is the subconscious mind. When you feed it basic stuff, I just want to just get something this year. It will work with, I just want to get something basic this year. If you feed it with, I want to be great this year. You see, the subconscious mind doesn't separate what is real and what is not real. It works in real time. And when you go to bed, it's working, it's processing. And that is why when you speak words and things that attract great things, great financial freedom, great success, great opportunity, all of this just starts working in the subconscious mind. So when we are talking about saving, the whole idea of side businesses, side hustles, these are very interesting things. What are you good at? Can you speak well? Can you sing? Can you do something amazing? Or you are working for that 8 to 5 job where you go and you complain about the boss and you come back home and you say, only guy. Are you the kind of person, or you're the kind of person that is actually ambitious about what you want to do? You see, when we are talking about side businesses, I'm not talking about you going to do something crazy that you don't understand. Each and every one of us here has a gifting that is more superior than the other person. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? You see, a very interesting speaker I like listening to said this. Imagine you're on your deathbed, okay? You're on your deathbed. And the dreams, ideas, inventions, everything that was in your life is just going around your bed and saying, imagine we were given to you, but you did nothing. And now see, we have to go down with you. Are you that person? I hope not. Because we all have dreams, ideas, amazing things that we can turn into money. I like to speak. And I can tell you that I am paid to speak internationally. But you see, I realize that I like to speak. So let me make money out of my what? Speaking. I cannot dance, so I won't make money out of dancing. But speaking I can. What can you do that is better than the other person, that you can actually go into the marketplace and say, this is what I bring as value into the marketplace? So think about that as you think about your side business. Number 2, control your spending. We live in a Masape lifestyle. The life we see on TikTok, Instagram is the one we want to live. And a lot of the time, by the way, the people who post these things don't show you the bad sides. I've never seen anyone on Instagram or TikTok posting a bad story about their life on a bad day. Have you seen one of those? You know, even me, when I go on Snapchat, I only snap good food. But when they have cooked bad food, you will never see it on Snapchat. Now, why am I telling you this? You see, we need to differentiate between what are needs and what are wants. What do you need and what do you want? I was shocked to learn that most wealthy people do not actually come and show you that they are wealthy. And you know why? They are more interested in conserving that and living a quiet life and making more wealth. And again, by the way, there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. I hope we know that. So it's very important for you to understand that, you know, as we are in a very fast-paced society today, unlike our parents' time, things are changing. If many of you read the statistics in today's paper and yesterday's paper, since 2014 we are now about 11.5 million Ugandans. 11.5 new Ugandans. Now, the truth is, all of these million Ugandans who have come into play need something. They need a product. They need something from you. What are you doing to be able to provide that? So it's very, very important for you to ask yourself that question. So, you need to differentiate between your needs and your wants. And again, there are very nice, amazing opportunities that we have around here, ways in which you can actually look at what you need in terms of what is essential and what you don't need. Let me give you a very simple, interesting conversation I had with some friends of mine. The iPhone 16 is out now. How many of you have iPhone 16 here? It came out last week. It's okay if you have it and you don't want people to think otherwise. Now, imagine you're in a problem, traffic, whatever area, and you have no one, only one person who is not even picking to answer your phone. Is that iPhone important? Is that iPhone essential? Are you using it to create videos for content that are going to get you money, or are you just having it for masapi? Is it a need? Is it a need? Is it a want? So the idea of separating the two is very important. Now, I want to move on to something else that I also think is very, very important in this whole conversation. This number 3. Make your money work for you. I talked about it in the beginning, but I want to emphasize it in number 3. Make your money work for you. And that's about investing your savings in opportunities that will generate returns over time. Don't let your money sit idle. I don't know if you know, but if you leave your money in the bank, it actually reduces. Huh? Do you know that? They charge you for keeping your money where? In the bank. In a unit trust, they pay you for keeping your money in there. Now, who are you talking to for financial advice? When I was at Stanbic, there was a lady, an old lady. We went to some village, rural area, we were opening up accounts. And some woman, poor woman, had her money under the what? The bed. We told her, Nedda, ma, my sentence was again, we gave her all these reasons. And the lady put her money right into the bank account. After 2 months, 3 months, she came to get her money. The money had drastically reduced because of interest and all of these for managing the account. Was that money working for her? It was ideally working against her. When you have your money that you're saving, what are you planning to invest it in? Who are you talking to? I have a very interesting friend. He's a financial advisor. He's called Arthur. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it today, but I have asked him to come back next time when I'm coming back to help you understand what it means to financially save and make money. Arthur is a living example of how to start small with basic money and live a dream and a happy life. Today, he lives in a house of his own. He has a basic job, by the way, basic. Lives in a house of his own, advises people on financial support and all of that. He's now setting up several businesses and all of that, on supporting businesses to manage their business and finances. And this is a guy who is not your motivational speaker who will not give you a background to what he's talking about. So I hope these ideas of making your money working for you will be something worthwhile. But again, there are things that are interesting, like stocks, bonds. Do you know who the biggest borrower in the country is today? Anyone? The government. The government is looking for money. Where do they get money from? From people like you. If you have your money lying around, instead of saving it, buy bonds. In 7 years' time, 10 years' time, you are smiling. Way better than building a lot of those mizigo which are going to make you have a headache. And we can do the maths here. Let's say you spent 100 million to do 10 mizigos. Yeah? You have tenants who are always destroying the place, hardly paying you, they disappear in the night. Yeah? You know those guys. Yeah? When the time for paying comes, they disappear in the night. You come in the morning, basenguse. You will realize that your money is actually not really becoming that great for you. So think about those investment ideas. Number 4, guard against losses. Guard against losses. Be cautious of the investments that promise quick returns. You know when those guys tell you, Kati, funayo bagaye nga 10. Twegate. bazikunganye nabo bagende bafune bameka kumi. That's a pyramid scheme. Now, we are growing in a culture or a world where it's amazing to have quick returns. Quick returns. You know, when I was growing up, I remember you had to go through the process. When you get out of campus, you go through the process, and it's a hassle. Today, someone gets out of campus and they want to drive. They want to have a 3-bedroom apartment like anyone here, like Ronnie here. They want to have all the lavish things that are not sustainable. So you need to be able to think about avoiding the pyramid schemes, those get-rich offers, and research thoroughly on where to invest. Number 5, increase your earning ability. Increase your earning ability. And I guess you all know that one income stream will never get you to where you want to go. You know that. One income stream will never get you to where you want to go. So you need to diversify. And I talked about the side businesses, but it's also about understanding that today there are so many opportunities on how to actually diversify your abilities. You can sell products online. 20 years ago, the internet was not possible for many of us. And Pastor Henry, you will recall that 20 years ago, if you wanted to send an email, you had to go to an internet cafe, and you had to go to the best one, which was around Kampala Road. Before that, after that, there were some in the suburbs, but the internet you pay your 500 shillings, and by the time it has gotten over, you haven't even entered your email box. That's how we used to hustle. Now you guys have the phones and everything is fine. But you see, the internet today provides us with a lot of opportunity to be able to invest in ourselves, become more appreciative in the marketplace, and of course, provide a lot of opportunities in terms of, our side hustles. The other one I want to talk about is the future income, and I think I've talked about this a lot in terms of the bonds. But how many of you are saving with NSSF? Okay, I can say half the room or 40% of the room. So again, guys, it's very, very sad when you grow old and your own children are even running away from you because you're a problem. This is the inconvenient truth. When you're not saving for your future, when you're not saving for that time when you will be with back X, muscle X, and everyone is running away from you, it's a very, very lonely world. And remember, by the way, the more you grow older, the more hospital bills become crazier. Huh? So, the practical things about opening up your, retirement savings accounts. We've talked about NSSF, of course, but also doing things that can provide, again, extra income to support you. The other one is surrounding yourselves with knowledgeable people. At Ubuntu, we have the acronym OQP. And I want you to write it and take it away. If there's anything you'll hear from me today, just take away OQP. And what does it stand for? Only quality people. Only quality people. Substance over nonsense. Quality over quantity. There are some of those friends who are just there just to be there. You ask a guy, I've been with you 5 years. Let's do an audit. And by the way, I want you to do an audit on your friends. Huh? You just say, well, we've been friends for 5 years. How have you helped me in my financial journey? If a guy says, man, I've given you vibes and mashallah, you run. Okay? It's time to run. It's time for you to audit your friends. Ask yourself, are you around the people who are talking about the big ideals? Or you are debating the latest TikTok? Are you discussing the future you want to see? Because again, I'll tell you something. Everything you do today is a very great background of who you will become in 5 years. I can guarantee you that. You don't just wake up to go to the gym today and you'll have kabode. No. It takes time. Same thing with financial growth. Same thing with physical growth, personal growth. So, ask yourself, are the people around you building you, or they are bombarding you like Gaza? You understand? Because you see, sometimes, and a lot of the time, actually not sometimes, a lot of the time, we have friends who are not worthwhile to be in our lives. But we just have them there, because we are living in a world of external validation. The more followers on Twitter, when my dad was campaigning in 2001 for the seat in Ginger, of which he lost, a very drunk woman came to the rally. I remember I was the one who was holding money, giving people. I of course enjoyed a lot of that money because some people were not worth the money. But the woman came to the rally and said, Mzee Otoa, all these people you're seeing here, they are not your supporters. We rubbished her. We said, no, these are our supporters. We're doing well. He said, you see, it's like at a funeral. Some people come to see and make sure you're actually dead. They haven't come to mourn you. They have just come to confirm you're dead. Same thing with some of our friends. I can tell you, personally, over the years, I have cut down my friends to a very small number of people who are reliable, dependable, and people I can count on. You'll find that sometimes the people who we consider friends are making their emergencies your emergency. And by making their emergency your emergency, it's eating your time, your energy, your resources. And where do you end up? You see, I wish there was a glass here. I would show you something about a half full glass or half empty glass, whatever way you want to see it. If you're half empty as an individual, you're trying to make it, and you're dealing with other half empty people, you will struggle to fill up yourselves. Either one of you gets full and one of you gets empty, or one of you gets empty. Now the question is, why aren't you around the people who are overflowing so you can actually just put your glass under and it flows inside you for you to be able to be full enough and overflowing so you can go back now to these guys and overflow in them? You understand what I'm saying? Yes. Let me just say that again. Imagine I'm a full glass here. And I'm pouring into Pastor Henry and he's filling and he's now overflowing. What does he do? He starts also overflowing. But if I'm half empty, however much I tilt, it will maybe just splash a little bit. But that's it. So why am I talking about only quality people? And why do I want to emphasize so much around this point? You are the average of the people you hang around. You're the average of the people you hang around. If you're around gossipers, you're also a gossiper. When people say, how are you? You say, I'm fine, but what will it do? Yeah? Instead of ideas. And you'll find that if you hang around people who are very obsessed with making it in life and achieving great things, you will be confused and will be striving to do the same. You know, at Ubuntu this year we say this is our year of compounding. And for us, the year of compounding is quite interesting because it's about those small incremental steps to become better. Getting the right people around you, the right families around you, friends, and all these amazing things that will take you places. The other one I want to talk about is taking advantage of opportunities. You know, I learned something interesting during COVID. You remember how COVID hit us? Man, I was one of the first guys who suffered the first COVID. Great. There was no medicine, there was no vaccine, there was nothing. Everyone was a herbalist. Yeah, you were all herbalists, I know. We're all herbalists. But what I learned about COVID internationally was in Mandarin, in China, Mandarin, the language, they do not have a word for crisis. What was the word saying? COVID crisis, right? COVID crisis, remember? In Mandarin, they don't have the word crisis. You know what they have in replacement for crisis? Opportunity. Opportunity. Google that. So when you guys are shouting, crisis, crisis, for them they were like, opportunity, opportunity. And you know what? They surely milked the COVID crisis. And that's life, by the way. It's about how you look at situations. Every human being, every one of us goes through hardships. But how do we look at these hardships? Do we look at them as situations that we're just going through, or do we say, out of this situation, I'll come back or come out stronger? It's very, very important. So, again, it's really about looking out for those opportunities and finding a way to prepare yourself. You know, the best people who take on great opportunities are people who constantly prepare themselves. It doesn't matter what time the opportunity is coming. If you want to make money and you're not even preparing yourself on how to say, you know, they always say, God is going to give you great things, but pray to Him to also give you the wisdom to keep those things. You understand what I'm saying? I can give all of you today 100 million. All of you today. And we can come back at the end of the year. And I can tell you that the ones who understand money will have more. And the ones who do not understand money will have less. So are you preparing yourself to have that more? You know, I was telling Pastor Henry the first time we met, sometimes God is not giving us what we want because He says we're not ready. He thinks we're not ready. He believes we're not ready. He says, "Ono Tony we muwaha." Because sometimes we get excited. We confuse and do things the wrong way. And then the other thing as well is that each and every one of us, whatever God has given us, is He has trusted us as His vessel. Your talent is not for you. Your money is not for you. Your opportunity is not for you. It's just that God has said, I'm trusting this guy to be able to make things happen through him. You get it? You are God's vessel. When God gives you an opportunity to speak, no, it's not for you. It's not for you to go and speak in your house and say, I must speak, I must speak. No. Go and use it to do great things for His kingdom. So, it's very important for us to understand taking advantage of opportunities is a very crucial thing. And finally, as I end, the power of discipline and patience. I began with discipline with the story of Sun Tzu. But I'll also tell you that discipline and patience is everything you need around finances. I have seen great people I've read about great people from the Roman times who have had everything, and so many things have gone down just because of indiscipline. Indiscipline. So again, it's really about setting those goals, trying to achieve them the best way possible, and most important of all, understanding that you have to be your own doer. Remember, no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to do it for you. You have to do it yourself. But always remember, as long as you pray to the man upstairs and you're doing it yourself the best way possible, anything is possible. Now let me end with the 4 types of wealth, and I like to talk about this a lot. You know, someone said, if you want to be the best version of yourself in 2025, there are some things you will have to not negotiate. You know when you go to a market and over kulamuza, there are some things where there's tuwali kulamuza. Number 1, your health. Your health. How many of you run in the morning? Put up your hands. Only one person, 2. Guys, when you grow older, I will tell you that your health will be the most expensive thing. And you have to start taking care of it. Your health. It doesn't matter how much money. You remember in COVID when the rich people were crying and they wanted to fly out of the country to get treated and they couldn't do anything with all their money? Your health is a priority. Now, the other thing I wanted to say is your finances. And we've been talking about this today. Guys, abantu ngate bagala abantu abavu. That is the truth. Bakwewala. You know, when a broke guy comes and he starts, even if he's giving you vibes and mashallah, you're like, ona alikuchi man. Ambaza akuba luseke. Nowadays the word is luseke. Akuba luseke. So you need to understand that financial freedom, financial greatness is important. The other one is your time. Your time. We all have 24 hours in a day. All of us. And it depends on what we do with the day. You can wake up in the morning at 5 and watch TikTok until 9. Or you can wake up and study at that time to become better. Or you can wake up to be the best version of yourself. There's a very interesting fact that I want to tell you about. If you spent an hour every day on a single topic, an hour every day, on a single topic for 365 days a year, you will become one of the 0.0 something % in the world who are experts in that field. Fact. So what are you spending time on? TikTok? Snapchat? And you know nowadays people like to go, or young people like to go on X for violence. Or you're there for violence. So time. The other very interesting one is your social wealth. Your social wealth. Social capital. If you cannot talk to Pastor Henry, to talk to another guy, to do this. You know, I work in a corporate world and I'll tell you that the days of looking at people's CVs to look at how good they are in class, their GPAs, are long gone. Now the question that most employers will ask you is, what value are you bringing to the company? Say, I know how to manage these businesses. I know I have connections in this place. I have liaisons. And that is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for, I got a 5.0 GPA at Makerere. Because you see, and I'll tell you this is another fact, a lot of our very intelligent people are not the best team players. Today's world has moved away from IQ to SQ, social quotient, to EQ, emotional quotient. Let's think about it. Even money. You can be the best businessman, but I can tell you you'll struggle if you do not know how to emotionally handle people. And let me tell you, I'll end with a very interesting story. There's something about Indian businessmen. And have you noticed that they come into the country with this? So you know, you go to a Ugandan shop. Hey, so your kaki ya maker.
So the first question is it ever too late to start saving? What does financial stability mean and how does one get there?
Okay, I'll just answer that by saying, so there's a very interesting quote which says, the last best time was yesterday, but the best time to do anything is now. I think there's never a late time to start doing great things, I'm always reminded of the great stories of amazing inventors who started doing amazing things later in life, So saving, I would rather you even start now. Now that you know it's important, start. So that's the best I can say.
Second question. Career, family, money, relationships, ministry that is serving God.
Everything. It's kind of like having a three-legged stool. When one of the stands is short, you're not balanced, right? Let's imagine you're focusing very much on your spiritual and you're leaving your family out of this conversation and your personal growth. Or you're focusing on your personal growth and you're not focusing on your spiritual and your family. Everything has to be balanced. And I think that's why it's important for you to ask yourselves, what is the priority, in your life? And this is now where we're moving away from the word work-life balance to work-life integration.
Can you please explain that?
Let's assume I have school-going kids, okay? And I know it's important for me to see them before they sleep because they leave very early in the morning and they come back. I come back very late in the evening, so we hardly interface. I should be able to do certain things either earlier at work to be able to leave early so I can be with my children and spend time with them. I'm integrating life. I'm integrating my busyness with them. Many of us tend to focus very much on, say, our careers and ignore, after all, I'm getting school fees for them. I should work hard. I can tell you that the day, God forbid, you die, the person who will be singing praises about you is the person who's replacing you. Laura was a good worker. She worked up to midnight. The company really is going to miss her. Then tomorrow, where do we start? Where do we continue? We move. So, what is important for you? And what I've realized ever since the COVID times is that the things that we have always put on the side, family, friends, our own personal ideas of how to become better and do things, are things that are really crucial that we need to focus on. Do you remember in COVID how everyone became a hustler? People were making soap. People who had never sold meat were selling meat to us. But you see, because we're focusing on certain things that are not really priorities in life, we're failing to realize that we have hidden potential that needs to be harnessed. And again, things that we need to focus on: friends, family, your social being, and your well-being as an individual as well.
I've had people say they don't have talent or what you call a skill or something, and would like to know, how does someone get to self-awareness and know what skill they're good at? I hear so many people saying, I don't know my talent, I don't know if I even have a talent or anything.
Yeah, because they haven't tried it. And you see, that's the problem. Because you haven't tried doesn't mean you are not good at something. You just haven't tried it. In fact, the word should be, I haven't tried this, not I am not good at this. In The Outliers, a very interesting book by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about the repetitiveness of doing something to become better. You'll be amazed that the best or the top athletes in the world, Tiger Woods, for instance, he goes and swings every morning, at least 1,000 swings at his golf club. He's already the number one in the world. He shouldn't be doing that. But because he realizes that every day has to be about constant improvement, constant understanding of what I am good at. Now, you've tried to cook biganye. You say, no, it's not possible. I can tell you for a fact, when I started cooking in the kitchen in Croydon, I began off a dishwasher, by the way. I was a dishwasher guy. And I got graduated to the salad station and eventually the grill. And I can tell you that I never knew anything about cooking. And yet today, I can cook for 100. I can cook for all of you. I can actually roast for all of you easily. But it's just because you are digging deep into certain areas that you do not know. But also, again, it's about going into people and new communities that will challenge you to see yourself differently. And you're like, what? I can actually do this? I can actually say it? And you see, the beauty about going into different communities is because a lot of the time we are concentrated in our own communities which have defined us. Your family, you understand? And because we are listening to these things and we've been listening to them since we're kids, that becomes our norm. And I talked about the subconscious mind. That's what becomes normal to us. But you can actually challenge that by stepping out of your comfort zone and trying out things differently. New crowds, new communities. And you'll find yourself challenged. The other thing that I also wanted to talk about here is the ability to be self-aware. Many of us are not self-aware. We don't know who we really are. There is a test that I did, and now I'm a coach for it. It's called Clarity 4D Personality Test. And I'll explain this test and how they happen. So there are 4 types of personality types, okay? There's the red type. The red type are if you guys are not ready, for us we are going. I'm tired of you guys, and you're sluggish, you're slow. They are bossy, yeah? They want to move. They're always on the... They don't listen to anyone. They just want to move. Those are the reds. And we know them. We know them. Then you have the blues. Now the blues are very meticulous. They are not overly out there. They are introverts. They are meticulous. When there's no I, they say no. The I has no dot in the top. There's no full stop. You know, when they are planning, we have to take this route because this route is better. Then we shall get the petrol there. They are that structured. They're usually annoying because they take forever. Then you have the greens. The greens are how is home, how is mommy, how is family, is everyone okay? Oh my God. No, guys, we're not going on this trip because John is not feeling well. I think we should all just, they're very emotionally, to take care of the team now. These people, you need them on the team. The only problem is, Wawanyiza. They're a different story. Then you have the yellows like me. We are the happy go-getters, the Kavuyo guys. We just like, it's Tambla. You bring an idea, it's a Tambla. We move. Then along the way we say, again. We are you happy? We are the life of the party, ideally. We have conversations for days or whatever. The only downside with us is that we are not very observing. We are not very meticulous. Our energy goes up, and we also have to take time away to just go and pick it up. So we disappear for some time. Now, each and every one of us has components of that, of those 4 personalities, and they all vary in the different amounts. But on top of that is that when you learn who you are, you know what you're not. You understand? You learn what you're not. When you know what road is going to take you to where you're going, you know what roads will not take you. Okay? Same thing as I will know how to communicate with someone who's a direct opposite of me, because now I'm emotionally intelligent. I know this guy he's meticulous, he likes these things. Now, because for me, as a yellow, I get annoyed by people who are slow, I make my presentations in a way that they have so much information that he doesn't have to have this back and forth and we get perturbed. But that's about being self-aware. Now, how many of us have done personality tests here? Pastor Henry, abantu bafe batambula butambuze. But it's very important for you to understand who you are, how you relate with people, and how you can best show up as well in a community or society.
You spoke about education and how things are changing. The CVs are not looked at so much these days. To what extent is education important today? And I'm asking this question is because I've gone to an acting school and we've seen so many parents bring younger kids. They're saying, no, I'm not taking her to school. I want her to study acting. And sometimes they're just away, bring her back when she's about this age. How important is education today?
Education is important without a doubt. It's all about how you use it or what you use it for. But what I'm just trying to say is that beyond education, we need to be able to foster those other attributes that we have in us. Now, I grew up in an era where we used to kuluka balls using those UHT, if you remember. Many young people here don't understand these things, but we used to play a lot after school. And I remember my mother used to give us proper chiboko because bana mwe muingire mugende musome. But imagine if she had understood that there's a Premier League somewhere where I can easily feature. She would probably be taking me every evening to a sports camp to hone my skills. So again, just like the story that you talked about at the acting school, there are so many great things that we have in us. But again, it doesn't mean that education is bad. And I'll tell you, personally, this is going to shock many people here. I am a lawyer, and in fact, I am an international lawyer. That's what I studied in school. I've never used any of that on a single day, even for my new job. So what does that mean? It means that you need to be able to dig deep within yourself and ask yourself, how best or how more can I serve the world? How best or more can I serve the community? How best or more can I serve people beyond what I've studied? Because now an education, I can actually go to YouTube and in 1 year I can actually have the same education as anyone who has gone to university to study the same thing, paying all that crazy fees, So there are so many ways that we do it. And I have my friends here at Moving Ads. A lot of them are very interesting. Now, one of them is actually a petroleum engineer, but he is an amazing videographer. He never went to video school, but he's an amazing videographer. When you see his stuff, you're like, wow. So again, education versus that. It's just really about how much value you can get out of yourself and take to the marketplace.
Someone is asking you to share 5 book titles to change their financial status.
The first one I would always recommend is Necessary Endings by Henry Cloud. And why do I like this book? It talks about, and I remember Pastor Henry, I told you about this when we met. It talks about, imagine a rosebud, okay? You want to have a very nice rose, but clearly, some of the petals are dead. What do? You prune, okay? Then there are those ones that are there. You know, however much fertilizer you put, however much water you put, nothing, potea. What do? You prune. Then you have now a nice rosebud and one which is also nice, but you want to have the best. What do you do to one? You sacrifice and do what? You prune. Same thing with our needs and wants again. That's how we have to deal with life. That's how we have to deal with our relationships. There are a lot of people who are just dead petals in our lives. We need to prune them off. It's sometimes painful, but it's what has to happen for you to grow, you know. Then the other book that I would also encourage is Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. It's a very, very amazing book. The Art of War by Sun Tzu is very good as well when it comes to strategy and all of these things. Then there's a very nice one that I was also reading that was really looking at how to deal with business and selling and ideas. It's called Propaganda. Yeah, by Bernard Shaw. It's a very, very interesting book about how to actually sell yourself, how to sell your idea, how to sell, you know, your business and so on and so forth. But maybe the other one that I would also like to encourage people, which is very much about life, is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. You know, it's really about looking inward and understanding who you... Someone is stoic here, right? Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. That book, for me, changed my life. And it changed my life in so much a way that it's a replica of the Bible in so many aspects. It talks about suffering, but how you look at suffering, how you deal with suffering. It talks about how to deal with disappointment. It talks about how to deal with... And it makes you realize that this guy who was an emperor at the time, super rich, super powerful, decided to focus more on becoming a better version of himself. So again, you can try and be the best businessman, but if you don't have some of these fundamentals, which we call Ubuntu, being a person, then it's very difficult for you to survive. So it's very, very important for you to understand that your humanity triumphs above so many things. So again, back to the whole conversation around, you know, just being the best version of yourself, being the best for humanity, and asking yourself every morning as you wake up, how am I going to best serve the world? You know, most of the time, today, it's about me. How much money am I going to make for me? How much for me? How much for me? Okay, for me, okay. But how about the other people? How many people have you changed? Have you impacted? Have you supported? Because you see, that is what makes the world a better place. But also that's what God ends up looking at and giving you more. You know, when you're mukono gamu, God says, hey, okay. And that's how you end up. But when you give, and Pastor Henry, I told you that the other time, every time I give someone money, I get more money. And I don't know how, but I get more money. And that, for me, I wish I had a formula for that. But you see, the man upstairs controls that formula. He controls that formula because he's like, this guy, yeah. So, yeah, service.
This is the second time we're hearing about this. God gives us talent for others. For those of us who went for Africa Haguruka, we remember, right? Yes. This is a bit of a long one. I have 13 million and I have a business idea. If I invest, the percentage of making profits out of it is bigger because I have done it before. But then I also have an idea of buying land out of Kampala. What do you advise me to do?
This is where I'm going to bring my friend Arthur to actually come in and advise. But I'll tell you something, and I read it from, I saw it from a very interesting investor yesterday. He said, the problem with us a lot of the time is that we want to do big things immediately. You know? You want to, and that's why I love the story of this church, you know, starting small and growing. Most of us want to have a big thing on the onset, and yet you do not even know how to run it. So you'll find that a lot of entrepreneurs will go get that 13 million, go and borrow extra money and try and run a big thing, and it fails. And along the way, they get frustrated and it doesn't happen. I always encourage people, and I remember at Stanbic Business Incubator, we always used to encourage people to just start small as a startup and continue small until you have figured it out. Until you have figured it out. You know what works, what doesn't work. What sells, what doesn't sell. Let's just imagine. I am a roaster. And I roast pork. And I go and set it up around, say, Chibuli area. I haven't thought about my business. I haven't thought about the implications of that because it's a predominantly Muslim neighborhood, so it wouldn't really make a lot of sense. But also, I do not know how much I'm going to sell. I do not know who's going to buy. I do not know what. A lot of these factors only become clear when you start small and grow your business in a way that you understand whatever is happening and then start expanding. Most successful businesses I know of always started off small. The most successful businesses I know today in the world are still small. If you go to Switzerland or in Europe, you'll find that most of the cottage industries make so much money, more money than Mukwano, and yet they're just in a small area like this. What does that tell you? Sometimes it's about knowing what you're doing and doing it to the best of your ability so that the market knows that if I'm paying this guy, I'll pay him the highest value because it's worth it. Sometimes mass production, you've been to Lumbez where they do mass food. Okay, but Lumbe food is nice. But usually it's not like Serena food, you know, where they have done for you a la carte. Yeah? And that is why a la carte is 100K and the other one is what? It's even free. But you get what I'm saying, right? So it's about really starting small, understanding how it works, make it work efficiently, and just keep churning out.
The next question is, what are some of the businesses? What are the best businesses to invest in such an economy? You mean the Ugandan economy? That's what they mean.
No, there's so many. Yeah, there's so many ways to invest, but again, in the financial world, we used to call it your risk appetite. How much appetite do you have for risk? If you are scared of losing your money in one go for bonds. You know, there you know you've fixed your money, you're sleeping well, it will come back. If you're risk averse, you just like kavuyo. You can go in deals where a guy says, "Wetuletaga na amanda, netuga sura wali, esente zivayo mangu mangu." But you see, it's again also about going to understand the business. Now, I can't prescribe the best business for you because I am not great at all businesses. My personal business is into procurement. And I can tell you that even for what we procure, whenever we are procuring certain things, we concentrate on certain areas where we understand what we are bringing in. And we also know that it will bring more money, but of course, cost us less in terms of the hassle of getting it. And yet for other people, it could probably be difficult. So I think it's about, again, asking around and asking the right people. I might not be the best person, and this is why I want to bring Arthur, but asking people around who understand what you want to get into. Most of the time, I don't know if you remember when mobile phones had just started, all the shops at Mutasa Kafero were selling mobile phones. No one was thinking about extras, you know. Sometimes you find mobile money. Everyone is doing the same thing. No one is thinking about the other thing that could actually happen around that. Maybe a phone charger, maybe, I don't know, anything else, you know? So, again, it's just really about going out and understanding what works for you. But also, put your money where your passion is. Just because babi ataddeyo ka boutique nawe yaga kuteekayo boutique tomanyi ngoye just because bajja wa babi bagula engoye, you will find it so difficult to actually sell the dress because you don't understand, you don't have the passion. And you see, when you are starting a business and when you're following the idea or concept of being committed, it has to come with passion. There's a reason why someone wakes up to do what he does because he's passionate. He can do it without even being paid and is okay. Can you do it without being paid and you're okay? Or you start lamenting and saying, that's what happens.
Thank you so much, Mr. Otoa.
You're welcome.
Those are all the questions we're going to take today. But please keep coming. I believe some of the questions that I haven't read out fall within what in the knowledge that he has given us. Thank you so much for your time and your knowledge. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And thank you so much, Pastor Henry, for this great opportunity. Super excited. I told my friends, I've always wanted to be a pastor. I think today I did a trial test. But thank you.
Can we just give my friend a very big hand clap? Please have your seats for just a moment. Please have your seats for just a moment. Was that a blessing? Oh, yes. Have we learned something? Do you want more of this? Oh, yes. Great. Let's just give him another big hand clap. Another big hand clap. Now you know that riders are not rascals. Riders have a lot of, when we are riding our motorbikes, we are talking. We are sharing information. We are learning from each other. Come on, amen. Now, just as I was seated right there, I was also writing notes. I was putting down, scribbling some things. And there was a question that my friend asked, and he said, go ahead and evaluate your friends. Huh? How much have they added to your life? Audit. He says actually audit your friends. We need to be more intentional. Not just having people around. What do we say here at Community Life? We will not say that. But what do we say? Audit your friends. How much have they added? So I want to ask you a question. You have been coming to this church for the last 5 years, because we're 5 years actually. I believe you have learned something. I believe we've added a lot to you. So I am one of your good friends who is adding a lot of value to you that you must never leave me. Even this evening I've just added to you. Isn't that right? Yes, I have just added to you. I told you, my friend was supposed to be out of the country today, but he said, I am coming. I will leave tomorrow. And that's a blessing. A person who has good friends and they're able to make sacrifices to come, that's a good friend. So that every one of you can pick up an idea and run with it and become successful. All right, come on. That's good. So I think that's good. Now, the other thing that I also picked up as he was sharing was the idea of value. The idea of value. And my wife, I work with my wife and a great group of people here. Can we just clap for all our leaders here? Where's my team? My team, please stand up wherever you are. I have a great team that I work with here. Let's have them stand. Let's celebrate them right now. They're all of. Come on, let's give them a big hand clap. Teacher Edith. Teacher Edith. Yeah. Let's give them a big hand clap. Amazing. So, you see me shining, but those are the guys doing the real work. All right, please have your seats. Now, I'll just talk about my wife because, you know, when you're working with your wife and you're working in the same office, the dynamics are very different. Some people cannot even work with their wives because they will be screaming all over the place. Now, my wife sometimes will say, can we increase so-and-so's pay? All right? I know as we go along, we're going to get a lot of good information. And this is what I will tell my wife. No, we can't. We cannot. Or I will ask her, why do you want us to increase the pay? Oh, you know, their family became bigger. Now they have another extra child. So we need to increase the pay because they have another No, you don't increase pay because a person has another child. Or you don't increase pay. Dr. Sunday is getting married. They're not going to increase his pay just because now he has a wife. Do you understand what I'm saying? So he talked about value there. You are paid based on the value that you bring to you use the word table. Yeah, the value that you bring is what you're paid for. I think he talked about Tiger Woods. You understand? I like the example of the butcher and the surgeon. Those two people work with meat. One works with human meat, another one works with with cow meat. Isn't that right? Yeah, they're all what? They are all meat people. The difference is it's different type of meat. The other one is human meat. This one is what? Cow meat. So when you go to buy chops, you buy beef. What you pay the guy who is selling cow beef is very different from what you're going to pay a guy who is going to operate your wife. Say to bring the child out, to bring the baby out. What's the difference? Their value. The difference is their value. So I just said that to say this. Instead, because he talked about it, instead of us telling people or telling our bosses, increase my pay. No, you increase your value. Once you increase your value, your pay will go up. And that goes back again to what he said. I mean, I am reading right now, the last few months I was reading 13 books every 10 weeks. Every 10 weeks. In the next 8 weeks, actually they're not 8 weeks now, they're about 7 weeks. I am reading 26 books. That's a lot of reading. But that's what it started with. How much value do you have? How much have you added to yourself? Because opportunities will come. As I close, today I went to speak somewhere. I think I mentioned that. I went to speak at Yeko Bank. And when I get there, what I'm going to tell them or what I'm going to deliver will not be the same way I will deliver it to you in the church. You understand? And of course they're thinking, this pastor is coming, because on my thing, my profile, he's a pastor. What is he going to... Their expectation is for me to deliver the way I would deliver in the church. So, it's a new environment. People don't know who you are. You are talking. By the time I finished, the founder of the bank pulled me aside and spoke with me, gave me a small whisper, which I will not tell you, but I already whispered to my wife. Why? I have added value to myself. You understand? So don't ask, they should give me a pay rise. Why? I have been here for 5 years. They should know how much value are you bringing to whatever is happening. Hallelujah. Come on, say amen one more time. Say amen one last time. All right. And then he also spoke about something that there was a question before we started this whole thing. I received a call from Teacher Edith, and she said, there's a young man here who wants to see you. He has just for 1 minute. I said, okay, I may not be able to see him. If it's 1 minute, anyway, we ended up talking. So I came out and I went out there to meet him, and he asked me a question. He said, Pastor, I have a challenge. I know we're going into this hub, but I have a challenge, and this is my challenge. Every time I get money, money goes. I make a lot of money. I'm 20 something years. God has been a blessing to me, but I make money and money goes. And then he said, but this is what my girlfriend tells me. My girlfriend tells me that the reason why money goes is because I am not paying my tithe. That's a good girlfriend. Isn't that right, Tony? That's a good girlfriend. You should have girlfriends like those ones. Yeah, you are not paying your tithe. So pay your tithe and then pay yourself. Are we together? Oh, come on. Yeah, come on, let's clap. Yeah, let's clap. It's as simple. Because you're giving God what belongs to him. And my friend also mentioned something. He said this. He said, if you think that it's going to be for you, if God cannot get it through you to others, then he will not get it to you at all. And that's a very powerful statement he made. So as we are in the business hub, I want you to be thinking. Don't think about, yes, ultimately you are going to be okay. Ultimately, your story will change. It will change. That's the ultimate goal. It will happen. It's inevitable. It will happen. But be thinking, whatever God has given to me, how can I be a blessing to others? To Abraham, I have blessed you so that you can be a what? You can be a blessing. You can be a blessing. Say amen to that. Come on, say amen one more time. I think I want to end here. But we have been so blessed. So I want to ask you a question now as we close. I want you to turn to your neighbor and ask them, what have you learned? What is that one thing that you have picked up today that you're going with? Yeah, the one thing you're going away with today that you're going to apply before I give you the next.